It is now 100 years since the start of the First World War. It was called the Great War, a war to end all wars, and yet, only 20 years after it ended, the Second World War broke out, and since then, there have been countless conflicts across the globe. Conflicts which are still carrying on today, 100 years later, making that less we forget even more significant. But while the war took the flowers of Europe's youth to premature graves, snuffing out the lives of a generation of talented poets, artists, working men, and others, those geniuses bled into the trenches. It also involved soldiers from faraway lands that had little to do with Europe's bitter traditional hatred. The role and sacrifice of the millions of Europeans, along with the Australians, New Zealanders, Canadians, and white South Africans, have long been celebrated in history books, novels, and award-winning films, and rightfully so. But the world hears very little about the 2 million Africans, 1.5 million Indians, over 15,000 West Indians, and the 400,000 African Americans, as well as the black soldiers in the British Army. They also fought and spilled their blood on the battlefields in Europe, Mediterranean, West Asia, North Africa, East Africa, and many other theatres of war. On the Western Front, they were among the first to suffer the horrors of the trenches. They were killed in droves before the war ended its second year, and they bore the brunt of many German offences. Their stories and their heroism have long been omitted from popular histories of the war or relegated to footnotes. This is their untold story. Their blood, black blood, also ran red. Foreign Secretary Sir Edward Grey, in his speech on the eve of war, said, and I quote, "The lamps are going out all over Europe, and we shall not see them lit again in our lifetime." End of quote.
Take a load off.
It's not often we get the chance to rest our bones as this.
My feet are filled with blisters.
Brother, still be grateful we have a chance to sit, huh?
So cold.
This Europe is a funny place, huh?
Wish I was back in Trench Town now. Bottle of rum.
Yes.
I remember.
Warm me up nice.
Oh.
Rum is a drink of the devil.
I was not one to take in this fire water, but my brother. Oh,
Warms the inside, man.
I remember the village life, huh? Sitting around the fire, all of the family.
Good
It was
times.
a good time. It was a good.
Why do we talk the same talk every night? Let us go patrol.
I be. Easy, no man.
Oh, come on. You
Two
two are
next, huh?
too lazy. Come.
Maybe
Like same drill, huh?
can't even rest my feet for 2 seconds.
Remember.
Right. While we're out here patrolling, we might have some entertainment. Come on, Andy. I see you're writing some letters. Come on. Let me read this a bit. Start me thinking of this code.
Before coming to the Western Front, I was forced to enlist. They came to our village and demanded that each and every elder volunteered 8 of their young men to fight for the motherland. Of course, our elders protested and refused, but they were beaten to the ground. I was 18. I had no choice. As they dragged me away, I could hear the cries of my mother and my sister fading to the distance. I heard in other villages, they came in the dead of night. They shackled, they chained, and they kidnapped the boys and took them away. From that day to where I stand now, I've come to realize that Africa has no place in this war. This cause is not ours. In these trenches, I see young white men lying dead next to Indians and Africans. The rivers of blood that flow from each and every corpse is red, the same as all of us. The broken bones, shattered skulls, and burnt limbs that I see buried deep in the mud look all the same to me. What am I doing here, buried alive in this hell? What I know for sure is that I'm fighting another man's war. It is a little known fact that the first shot was fired on the 12th of August 1914. It was fired not in Europe, but in Africa, by an African soldier of the British Army. The soldier's name was Alhaji Grunchi of the Gold Coast Regiment. It is also a little known fact that the British forcibly have recruited over 1 million African porter-carrying soldiers who are carrying this war on their backs. Because of the forced inscription, whole districts are becoming depopulated. Like slaves, these young men are made to carry heavy weapons, ammunition, and supplies across vast areas of land. 1 in 5 die from exhaustion, sickness, or disease. They are paid very little and given little food. They are African carriers, so nobody cares if they live or die. And believe me, they are dying in the hundreds of thousands. The French, the British, the Belgian, all the colonial empires are fighting their rivals, the German imperialists. They are waging their war on our lands, for our lands. They are enlisting us to do the killing on their behalf. We are being sacrificed like lambs to be slaughtered. In the process, we are killing our African brothers who have been drafted in by the Germans, whom we have no argument. Much of Mother Africa has been turned into barren wasteland. Where there were once cornfields, there is now scorched earth. Our crops burnt, our villages destroyed, our youth shackled, our people starved. The harbingers of civilization have brought to our lands of Africa nothing but famine, death, disease, and the mother of all wars. There are Africans here from all over Africa, and not just as porters as they have you believe. We are here. We are here in army uniforms. We are here in the trenches. We are here on the front lines. As we go over the top and face our death, we ask that you remember, there is no victory in war. There is no glory in war. There is only loss, death, and destruction. When you remember this great war, remember us too. Remember the fallen were also Indians, Africans, and West Indians too. Not just our European brothers. Irrespective of religion, race, or creed, as the fallen, we all end up in the same earth.
Thank you, Adi. You have been doing some writing, isn't it? B, what you got for me?
Well, how many times have I told you? The name is Bahadur. I don't know what is this B. You keep mentioning B. Seeing that it is you, I let you off.
You'll get used to it, man.
But
So you got a letter for us?
I also have some things I must say. I went into the trenches on 7th of August and I am returned back again. Many of our men have died and many more wounded. The wounded come back to the trenches. Some men come here who have been wounded 2 times or even more. The Gore log are even sending their young boys to fight here. But I am not permitted to give any fuller details. The battle is raging violently, and various new ways of killing and fighting on mass scale have been introduced. Ekdam Satyanas. Nobody considers rifles nowadays. Serviceable rifle ammunition is lying about as plentifully as pebbles. This war is not of this world. It is war on the battlefields of hell. Narkanirantumi. The ground is honeycombed as a field with rat holes. All around the trenches, thousands of mounds of iron representing exploded shells lie on the ground. At some places, dead, decaying corpses are found of men killed in 1914. Uniform and accoutrements still on. Then, there are large flies infesting the trenches, which have become poisonous through feasting on dead bodies. Huge fat rats bite chunks out of the frozen flesh from both the dead and the living. Toba, toba. We are plunged into these waterlogged trenches with inadequate clothing and gaping holes in our boots, freezing in these dirty, stagnant waters, and nobody can advance beyond them. If he does so, he is blown away. Mines are ready, charged with explosives. You see, death stands before us at all times. It comes in the shape of heavy shelling, rapid bullets from machine guns, the gas of deadly vapor, incinerated burning flamethrowers, mortar and bombs raining down from the skies. And by whichever of these means I am destined to die, my life will be extinguished forthwith. I have no fear, for thee are honorable and fearless warriors. By the wish of God, the climate of this country is cold. It is said that this is the coldest winter in the history of this God-forsaken Europe. And because of the bitter freezing weather, the corpses, they do not decompose quickly. It rains frequently and that causes much inconvenience. At the present time, we are suffering as the horses are tethered outside and the rain has converted the ground into complete slush. Sometimes we have to march in the rain, and the cold is so intense in this barren and desolate place. And I tell you that many men have had their feet cut off, for they have been burnt black by the cold and bitter frost. However, after 2 years' experience, we have grown used to such struggles and now think quite lightly of them. I have no hope of seeing you again and getting out of this France safe and sound. But I am always thinking of the possibility of seeing India and sitting with you in the mid-afternoon sun under the shade of the village banyan tree. I pray night and day to God to make this happen. And I think of you with every breath that I breathe. Otherwise, I am dead and should not be thought of as living. But do not be anxious for me. Whatever may be approved by God is that which will be, and whatever is written will be the fate of me. Do not think of me, but take thoughts of yourself and our home. Tell my brother to stay in the village and carry on being the family headman. Tell him do not go anywhere else and think over carefully what I say, and you will understand what I mean when I say stay in the village. There seems no prospect of peace here, and great oppression has been exercised with hundreds and thousands of our Indians sacrificed. Hey Khuda, teri kya marzi? Give my salams to my beloved family and tell them do not be angry, for we are about to die. Do not shed your tears, but remember us, for we gave our lives so that one day you may be free.
Boy, I said entertain me, not make me cry. The both of you. You need to loosen up, man. See me? I should give you some lyrics. That's what you want. From trench town to the trenches. Yes. Listen up. It's called The Black Soldier's Lament. The bugle called and forth we went. To serve the crown, our backs far bent. And build whate'er that must be done. But near to fire an angry gun. No heroes we may know, not one. With deep lament, we did our job. Despite the shame, our manhood robbed. We built and fixed again to prove our worth as proud black men and hasten sure the Kaiser's end. From Scotia Port to Seaford Square, across to France, the conflict there. At Ville-le-Joux and Place Perron, for God and King to right the wrong, the number 2600 strong. Stripped to the waist and sweaty chest, midday's reprieve, much needed rest. We dug and hard and lifted high from trenches deep towards the sky, none fighting troops, and yet we die. The peace restored, the battle won. Black sweat and toil had beat the Hun. Black blood was spilled, black bodies maimed. For medals brave, no black was named. Yet proud were we, our pride unshamed. But time will bring forth other wars, then give us two more daring chores, that we might prove our courage strong, preserve the right, repel the wrong. I'm proud we sing the battle song. You see? That's lyrics. That's what you need.
This is very good, Darren. I like these lyrics.
Yes? I can teach you some, you know.
We have many songs in India as well.
Let us go before we are sacrificed.
Jonathan, hold the rifle! Go on, the Jonathan here! Hey, come on! Get down, brother!
Take your hands.
What passing bells for these who die as cattle? Only the monstrous anger of the guns. Only the stuttering rifles' rapid rattle can patter out their hasty orisons. No mockeries now for their no prayers or bells, nor any voice of mourning save the choirs, the shrill, demented choirs of wailing shells, and bugles calling for them from sad shires. What candles may be held to speed them all? Not in the hands of boys, but in their eyes shall shine the holy glimmer of goodbyes. The pallor of girls' brows shall be their pall, their flowers the tenderness of patient minds, and each slow dusk a drawing down of blinds.
Over 4 million non-Europeans, non-white soldiers and auxiliaries were drafted into bolster the ranks of Britain and France. These men were undoubtedly heroes as well as victims. They were pitchforked into battles in unfamiliar lands, in climatic conditions to which they were neither accustomed nor prepared, fighting an enemy of whom they had no knowledge, risking their lives every day for little more than pride. Yet they were destined to remain largely unknown once the war was over, neglected by their colonial masters for whom they fought and ignored by their compatriots. They served the very empires that were oppressing their own people back home. An epitaph inscribed at the war cemetery somewhere states, "When you go home, tell them of us and say, for your tomorrow, we gave our today." Colonial soldiers who died in World War I could make no such claim. They gave their todays for someone else's yesterdays. They left behind orphans and history often. But today, as part of Black History Month, we remember them. Please stand with me and join me in saying, we will remember them. Remember them in the this lifetime, at this period in time, we may well live